Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the JESHUA Encounter. I am your host, Tasha Renee. Today, we have somebody that has been in my orbit for about 4 years now, Mr. Stephen Melling. He's an incredible, amazing, just spiritual, beautiful human, beautiful man. And I'm really excited to have him on the podcast today to talk about his personal experience and encounter with JESHUA. So if you'd like to follow us, if you're listening to us on Spotify, awesome. Thank you. Be sure to follow us so you get all of our episodes that download every Sunday. If you are wanting to watch this, you can get on our YouTube channel and you can look us up under the JESHUA Encounter or the JESHUA podcast. If you have your own story to tell us that you'd like to be on the air with me, you can email me at the JESHUA podcast at gmail.com. And yeah, I think that's about all in regards to that. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously you can get on Spotify and find us there as well. Tiny bit about me. I help women mainly, but I help all people to heal through their sacred rage. So basically what that means is we remove layers of trauma and pain by way of your sacred rage. So really powerful, impactful work. If you're interested in that, you can look me up on sisterhoodofsacredfire.com. And you can also email me at sisterhoodofsacredfire@gmail. And I'm also on Instagram under Sisterhood of Sacred Fire. So yeah, so we'll go ahead and get to our lovely guest here. And Stephen, what is it that you do? And tell us a little bit about yourself, and then go ahead and go into your encounter story.
Hi there. Yes, my name is Steve. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. And I've been following Tasha for at least 4 years, if maybe more. I have no idea how we even connected.
Neither.
And that's how it goes with a lot of my Facebook contacts. I don't even remember who sent who. I think it was all that spirit connecting us up,
Always.
getting that web of light workers together.
Yeah.
So, right now, we're working in assisted living for a long time, but right now I'm not working. I'm a caregiver for my mom. She has dementia.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So I stay with her on Monday through Friday, and the weekends I get a break. My older brother comes down. He lives up north, Roscommon, Michigan. That won't mean anything to anybody unless you're from Michigan. Anyway, it's up there by the bridge.
Yeah.
By the bridge. But anyway, So
Awesome.
I'm not
Well,
really
thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Well,
tell us about your encounter with JESHUA.
Okay, I'll give you a little background on my spirituality. Okay, I was raised Catholic. I went to a Lutheran school. So if you know anything about Catholicism, you think it's all based on. It's Jesus based, but it's all like you're bad just because you're human, and it took me a long time to get over that programming. And so he's always been in my life. And I did lose my faith for a while when I was like 12. That's a whole nother podcast. But when I was 12, and that was when I was 12 during the Cold War, and the Lutheran school I was going to, showed us a film strip about Nostradamus. If you know anything about that.
Yeah.
Okay. It blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being inconsolable, thinking, how could God let these weapons exist and men who are willing to use them? And my parents took me to see shrinks, the local Catholic priests. None of them were able to give me an answer. Like, I don't know, kid. It's just the way it is. It's out of our hands. God knows what He's doing, and I kind of lost my faith for a long time.
Yeah.
And then it came back. I've always been spiritual. I've always known there's more things going on behind this in reality than what we know and see. But I kind of pushed it aside after a 12-year-old's incidents, and I had a bunch of spiritual experiences that happened in my 20s that brought me back. And I started going, and it brought me back to believing. Those were angelic encounters I had in those ones. That's ananother podcast.
So cool. Yeah.
So yes, I was brought back to faith, and in like 2015 or something. Even though I had faith, I never, because of the Catholic upbringing, the last part of that program was like I'd always thought, like, the 12 disciples, they must have been the most righteous dudes who ever lived. And it never dawned on me that, oh, they were regular guys. They were working men. They were probably swearing, and Mary Magdalene was an ex-prostitute. And it finally dawned on me that, no, to follow him, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to try. And
yeah, it's actually he wanted the opposite of that. He was looking for people who were the most imperfect, considered imperfect anyway.
Yeah. When that finally clicked, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Okay. And then my faith was completely restored because I was thinking, you know what? Yeah, look at who we hung out with. And I don't know why I was blinded to that for so long, but everything happens for a reason.
Definitely.
And even though my faith was still back, I started going to a church that was Bible based, but they only considered Jesus an ascended master, which he is, but they didn't place the importance on being the savior and all that. And I was for a little while I was getting caught up in tarot and psychic readings, and actually this girl I met on plentyoffish.com named Mary.
Oh, interesting.
Brought me back into faith. I met up with her. We went on a coffee date, never ended up dating, but somehow we started talking about spiritual things, and she brought me back to the conversation we had. The one time we met was about our faiths, and I started talking about the things I was doing, and she was going, you know what? I know you believe in Jesus, but you're kind of straying away from, you're approaching the idolatry kind of thing. And wow, you're right. And and it was years later I realized that, wow, her name was Mary. Go figure that out.
Wow, that's pretty
brought me back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've always felt a strong connection to Mother Mary.
Yeah.
And then what really sealed the deal with Jesus, I was working as a janitor this one time for about 5 years, actually. I was on the midnight shift, and I had just got my first smartphone, so I was listening to all these spirituals podcasts. That was the worst job of my life because I worked totally alone. It was in a haunted building, and it was, looking back and go, man, how did I do that without losing my mind? But I was listening to a lot of spiritual things at the time, so I think that was meant for me to be a period of serious learning. Because while I was there, I got this. It was a Good Friday. I was cleaning the school and it was going to be closed for the rest of the weekend. Most schools are closed for Easter, and I had this vision of. I always intellectually understood the resurrection story, but I didn't, I guess, feel it. And that night, I asked Spirit. I go, I wanted to be closer, and I had these, and then it was downloaded into me all the pain that it couldn't have been all the pain. I don't. Well, the pain, not the physical pain he went through, but the
emotional.
The emotional and all the trauma he was going through.
Wow.
It was, and I was brought to my knees crying. I was like, and then I totally realized what he had done. It became real for me, not just a story in a book.
Yeah, well, I would love for you to explain what you were seeing. Is what when you say what he has done, what does that mean to you? What was shown to you?
That the debts are paid. He's the new covenant. He's the new covenant. We don't have to suffer because what he did, he took it on for us. We don't have to go through that. And then I finally understood it. I mean, you can hear that story all you want growing up, but not understand. I didn't see it. I'm not real visual. I'm more of a feeler. Mm-hmm. Just all those emotions and pain and fear and everything just came down on me. And then that's when I realized what a gift, how he actually suffered and what a gift it was for us. Yeah. And that totally strengthened my faith. So now here we go. I am as for my encounter with him, you know what? If people say the second coming, I believe, yes, he is going to come back in physical form, but at some point. But I think he meant his consciousness is going to be here. I think he said, you know what? I did it once for you guys. Now it's your turn. You can do it. I forget what verse it is, but he told the disciples, you can do all these things and so much more with the Holy Spirit.
I just got chills.
So I think he meant, yeah. I believe he will physically, may even be here now. Who knows? But he wanted
definitely made a comeback for sure.
Yes. I think his consciousness is what came back. And he's gathering his church right now.
Yes.
Gathering his church.
Yes.
So, when I met him, somebody was okay. I told you I used to work in assisted living. So a resident was channeling him, and this is how it happened. You probably know, since we've known each other a while, I'm a professional clown, a professional Santa Claus. So I do gigs for kids, and I do a lot of gigs at senior centers and stuff. So I got asked to go to this one senior center in Detroit, and it was a surprise gig. I have a lot of clients that call me again year after year, but this was someone totally brand new, facility I'd never been. I was kind of surprised because I wasn't on the usual. The person who hired me has never called me before, and I was kind of like, this is interesting. And it happened to fall off, and I was working full time at an assisted living. It happened to fall on my day off. It was Alzheimer's walk they were having. So they were having an outdoor carnival, and they wanted a clown. So I showed up as Slappy the Clown. It was outside, and let me set this up. But that morning when I was getting ready, I opened up my phone, was looking at my feed. I just glanced at it, and there was a story, and I haven't found it since. It was a story from a magazine saying Jesus may not have looked as the classic image of Jesus with the beard, the long robe that I think everybody would recognize. This article saying, based on where he lived in that geographical place and that time, he might have not looked anything like that, and showed this picture of this homely Arabic man with a tooth missing. And I was going, wow, that's interesting. That never occurred to me. And I didn't think anything else of it. I shut my phone off and had to start getting my makeup on. So I get to the gig, and it's outside. There's a lot of seniors. And when I'm doing the gig, I make sure I get to everyone. So there's a bunch of tables. I started going around. And this whole time, there was this elderly black man sitting at the very last table, who's smiling at me the whole time and looking at me. And I just felt good about him. And something told me he was going to be the last one I was going to talk to. And that's exactly how it worked out. So then I was doing my whole spiel, making balloons, I'm doing magic tricks. I finally get to him. And he said, yeah, I've been waiting to talk to you. Yeah, me too. And to this day, I can't remember exactly what we talked about. It was kind of like hazy dream. But he did tell me, and the guy smiled, and sure enough, he's missing a tooth. Like that picture of that in that article I was reading that morning saying, oh, he might have looked like this. And then I've told people the story, and they go, well, that probably planted the image in your head. I go, yeah.
Yeah, Jesus planted the image in your head.
Because I wouldn't have recognized it, because I would have been expecting traditional Jesus.
Dude, Chuck chills this whole time. It's fucking wild.
Yeah. And we're talking, and it was like those scenes in movies where there'll be two people in a giant crowd, but they can only see each other, and everything else is just kind of going around. It was like that, and it felt good. It felt really good. It was just like talking to an old buddy. And like I said, I wish I could remember.
It was like it's like time had stopped.
Yes, exactly.
Down. Everybody was moving really fast around, like in this time warp.
Even though it
was fucking amazing. You were like in another dimension almost with him.
Yeah, because there was chaos going around. Because number one, it was an outdoor party. in a dementia unit, so it was getting crazy. They
Yeah.
were getting ready to go back in too. The thing was
So this
almost
this was
over.
a dementia patient.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
okay, and he told me I was from, and I said the only things I do remember. I said, so all the debts are paid, right? He goes, yeah, don't worry about it. He goes, we're done. Yes. And then he told me I was from Orion. And then we talked about other stuff. And then finally I was looking around. He goes, he read my mind and said, oh, don't worry about it. They have no idea what we're talking about. And then we talked a little bit more. And then it was time for us to go back. And then he was back to being, and he also talked about being married to Cleopatra and stuff like that.
Wow.
And some other famous couple in time, I forget. But yeah, and then it came time to go inside, and then he was back to being just an elderly black man with
Oh my
dementia.
gosh. I mean, I'm not
And
surprised when you talk about like him being married to Cleopatra or whatever. Like it doesn't surprise me that Jesus would, obviously is God in human form, so God can do whatever God wants, and use that through in my opinion, I mean, yes, we are all God, so we all experience him through us, yes, but it doesn't surprise me that he would just be in different forms all the time and showing up the way that he needs us to connect with him, however that
yeah,
is.
yeah,
I love the whole, I don't think even was fully connecting to all the debts are paid until this conversation, to be honest. And the reason I think that's happening is because I have been working really, really hard on my wound around receiving more, receiving money. I subconsciously didn't know, but I was being like what's it called when you fucking suffer for others?
martyr.
Martyr. I had martyrdom issues, and I'm still clearing a little bit of that out, not really so much anymore, actually. And when I say it out loud, I can hear them saying, no, that's actually not a problem anymore. But it's that feeling of like having to prove yourself, or to receive, or do something to receive, or karma, right? People talk about karma. Even I talk about karma from time to time. So it's really like hearing you say it, and hearing you say it and just bring it up again because of the work, also the inner work that I've done, and the closest I have with him myself. It's now really does feel like, oh, we really can have a heaven on earth life. We don't have to keep being in pain. We don't have to keep punishing ourselves. We don't have to keep suffering. We don't have to have that. It actually isn't a fucking requirement. Now, I'm also a firm believer, and that could be changing, that, we need to step into things that expand us. And a lot of times that expansion doesn't always come from just sitting around and being happy and go lucky all the time. If that were the case, God would have taken everybody off the planet that would cause this planet harm. Like, it would be just literally heaven. But it's like, I think ultimately it's still that we don't need it. It's just that as humans, we're still evolving to really, really understand that and bring heaven literally as a collective down to earth, and make it one thing, bring it together. So for now, pain is necessary. For now, that is the way of expansion. But I think the more that we can hold the vibrations, or the vibrations of it, yes, but hold the ability to say that we don't need that, so you're getting to do both. I think the more it starts to integrate more. So even if you are experiencing pain, so to speak, it's short-lived. It's something that doesn't stick around for too much longer, besides obviously bigger things like and again, I think that, like I was gonna say, like cancer, or like losing a limb, or like something just horrific, you can't hold that vibration around. But I do believe even with that, there is a process of getting us to a space where those things aren't any longer needed, because I also believe that it is the collective that is what you're seeing. Everything you're seeing is a collective. I heard somebody say brilliantly, that was a meme, I think was shared, that was saying that the world is not getting worse right now, it's purging. And there's a difference. So
That's what I
all
keep
the
telling people.
darkness, all the darkness you're seeing, COVID. I mean, all of the things we saw in Ohio with all the shit that's happening, where all the, it's not getting darker and worse. It's purging. It's getting
Purging the crazy out of humanity.
It's coming up to come out. The collective has finally decided they don't want this for the most part. And it's a wave, right? And it takes sometimes lifetimes, centuries to fucking keep that wave going. But I think we are at a space where enough of the collective has said, we don't want this. We don't believe what's happening. And so that is creating a purge, which is making it look really, scary, because it is scary.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Yeah. But Jesus coming back, making the comeback. And I've talked about this on every episode. So if you hear this on other episodes, sorry, not sorry. Jesus is making a comeback through spiritual people for a reason, because Jesus did not and does not like religion. He really wants and has always wanted everybody to have access to him. And spiritual people see things as we are all one. Religious people see it as we are a group, and if you aren't this group, you don't get access to him.
Oh, good one.
And so through us spiritual people, so The Chosen, have you seen The Chosen? You've seen The Chosen, yeah.
I still haven't seen it.
Amen. You, especially with what you just told me, you're gonna so connect with that show. There's no excuses, sir. You download that today and you fucking watch at least 3 episodes today.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm serious. Do it. That's a message for you from Jesus. You need to do that. Especially for spiritual people, empaths, psychics, healers, entrepreneurs. I mean, what's going on in the world? It's so fitting. It's so timely. And he comes out and comes across as exactly the way that you're describing. I mean, not that you can't tell he's not Jesus, because you can definitely tell. But in the ways of how spiritual people see him, it is the typical story of Jesus. It is like 98% of it. There's this 2% portion that even Dallas, who's the fucking creator, has been called blasphemous by religious people, because there's certain things he's done that have made Jesus so human yet still miracle worker that it's appealing to there's atheists. They take screenshots of things that people say. And I've seen multiple things on, if you get on Facebook, there's like 2.8 million followers on Facebook that they have. Not Instagram, but Facebook. And there's been a couple things where I'm an atheist and I can't stop watching this show. I'm an atheist and the cinematography is so beautiful that I just continue to watch it, and I just want to continue to watch it.
Really?
Like how the fuck is that happening? So it really, really opens up a part of you to connect with him, because, and I keep saying this to Dallas and Jonathan Rumi, who plays Jesus, they are channeling Jesus, whether they're going to admit it, whether they realize it, but they are full on channeling him. There's a reason why out of all the millions of people that Jesus chose Jonathan Rumi to play him, and also Dallas to get this message out about him through this show. So most definitely Jesus is like, I want to be shown in this way. Yes, the story. Yes, I say sinner. Yes, it's, for instance, Mary, in the very first episode, Mary is actually called Lilith. Her name's actually Lilith. They gave her the name.
Really?
Yes, because she was raped by the Roman soldiers. And that's how she had demons inside of her. And of course, the only person that can remove them is fucking Jeshua, Jesus, right? And he says, I know your real name. And her name is Mary. So
his conception exorcised them?
His conception. Not Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene. Not his mother. Not his mother. No, Mary Magdalene.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have said Mary Magdalene. Yeah, so Mary Magdalene. Yeah, his mother Mary is also obviously in the show, and she's amazing. But yes, Mary Magdalene was the one he freed from the demons, but her demons came about because she was raped. And they give a lot of power to the women, a lot more power, a lot more voice in this than they get in the Bible or any other story that's told, which is really beautiful. But anyway, that's just something that's kind of a twist of like, wait, what? And there's a couple of things in there, some humor in there, some natural organic humor that just is so genuine and beautiful. So
I definitely have to stop procrastinating and see it now.
You have to watch it. Like, it's really life-changing, and you will it's amazing how you're like, oh my God, that was my favorite episode. And then like 1 or 2 episodes later, and you're like bawling your face off again and going, that's now my new favorite episode. And it just keeps going and keeps going. And like, I don't know how, but the seasons get better. There's 3 seasons currently. You can watch it for free on the Chosen app. You just look up the Chosen on your app store.
Okay.
Or you can go to angel.com. I don't know how they got that website, but it's angel.com, which is Angel Studios. You can watch all the episodes for free on there. They're about 45-minute episodes, and there's like, I think 8 in each one. So it's fully funded, by the way, by donations. This isn't something that they had money to do. So they literally like raised like $40 million or something crazy to be able to fucking do this. So they've got 3 seasons. 4th season will be, I think, released at the end of this year. And then they're going to go all the way up to 7. And that scene where he's going to be like in Passion of the Christ, for instance, I couldn't watch that because I was so, and this is before my relationship was like super deep with him. I couldn't watch him in pain like that. I couldn't do it. It was almost traumatic for me. I couldn't do it. And so I feel like it's weird. I feel like felt so close to him that I want to sit with him in that pain. That's interesting now that I'm like, I'm dreading that scene. It's gonna affect me to the point where I may never be able to speak to anybody for a couple of days. Like, I know how it's gonna affect me, but I feel like it's kind of like that person you've been with forever and you want to sit with them as their own dying moments. It's like that. I feel like I not owe him, but I want to experience whatever I can, because I know that he's literally in Jonathan Rumi. I know he is, while he's playing every scene that he does. So yeah.
I think that's what happened to me that one night I was talking to you about the janitor job when he gave me like probably just a taste of what it was like, the anguish.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that was just a sliver, right, of what he actually experienced.
Yeah.
Because I don't think as humans we'd even be able to fucking actually hold that, right?
No.
So yeah, I mean, that's just really incredible that you.
And here was the clincher.
Yeah, tell me.
I told you that whole scene when I'm meeting him felt hazy and dreamy, like when you first wake up. Yeah. And then as I was leaving, I swear this, as I was leaving, I'm still kind of like, did that happen, or am I just seeing, or am I just want to believe something? A white feather came drifting down, like at the end of Forrest Gump. I was like,
I was like,
I wish I would have grabbed it, but I was walking out to my car stunned. And that was, and right when I was thinking, was that a dream? Am I tripping? That's when the feather went.
And that happened when again? When was that happened?
After when I was leaving that gig,
that same gig where you just talked to Jesus.
Yeah. All the residents went back in. I went into the office to go get my check for it, still like in a stunned daze.
Fucking haze.
Yeah. So
in a trance, Jesus trance.
Yeah. And the rest of that day I had to go to work, and I don't remember what I did the rest of the day, but it was pretty cool.
Wow. Wow. What a beautiful fucking encounter. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that with us.
Do we have any time left?
Oh yeah, we totally do.
Okay. This is not about Jesus, but this is one of my favorite stories about the gospel and the Holy Spirit was the story of Saul.
Yes.
On the road to Damascus, when he loses his sight. Okay. So Saul, I guess, was literally a hitman for the Roman Empire. When he'd be going into town, the Christians would scatter like roaches, because I guess he was really good at what he did, really good at persecuting.
God.
So they credit he was doing God's work before he even knew he was doing God's work. So yeah, he's a hitman. He loses his sight and has an encounter. He didn't meet Jesus till after Jesus died and resurrected. That's when he became Paul. And that story, and Jesus converted him. And that story means a lot to me, because like God can use anything and anybody. This guy was I don't know how many Christians he must have killed
He
in
was a
his
master, he was
career.
basically a serial killer. Really, if you think about it, he was a Christian serial killer.
And he was doing God's work, spreading, because when the Christians spread, wherever they went, they took that message. So he was doing it before he even knew he was an
Yeah.
apostle.
Even in
So he
his
became
murdering spree, he was still spreading the message.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
then when he finally met the Spirit of Jesus on the road to Damascus, that's when he understood, wow, I've been living this wrong life. I need to, and he became the most well-traveled apostle of them all. And for a while, I got caught up in thinking that, boy, I bet you he spent the rest of his life trying to prove himself. And then I had another dementia resident come through. I don't know if it was Jesus at that time, but told me it was a retired priest who had dementia. And the funny thing was, if you tried to talk to him anything except spiritual subjects, totally confused. He couldn't hold a conversation. But whenever I asked him like spiritual questions, he could give me a straight answer.
Wow.
It was very weird. And none of the other people that worked with him had an experience with him. He actually taught me stuff. So I told him about that story, and he told me, no. Paul, as soon as he went from being Saul to Paul in his conversion, his heart changed, and he never looked back. He never looked back on his life.
Wow.
And that was my next piece. That, yes, that's, I guess I'm still getting over that Catholic programming of, oh, you're bad.
Sure.
But yeah. So yes,
Yeah,
all the debts are paid.
That's another, just like, I believe when you really, like, I mean, it's not the Christian version, but like when you want to connect with him and you allow him to come into your heart and you actually start talking to him, it's almost like you are becoming a different person. I know that I am not the same person that I was when I started watching The Chosen, which is when I really deepened my relationship with him. It hasn't gone away, even in the scariest of moments. It hasn't, I don't feel like, even in those super scary moments, that I was being betrayed or left behind, or I don't
You know
question
what?
him.
I can tell the difference in you and your post the past year.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that,
Yeah.
considering somebody who's been watching me. So yeah, I feel a lot more trustworthy. I'm currently in a space where I, have to move in May and have, no idea where I'm going or how the money's going to show to do it. And for some reason, I just don't. I mean, I have my moments. Don't get me wrong. I definitely have my moments of like, fuck. And I always seem to go to this space of like, because I don't have anyone to help me in the sense of like a physical. I don't have family. I don't have friends. I have nobody. And so I naturally, for my nervous system, naturally go to a space of like, what if I end up like unhoused? Do you know what I mean? Like that does happen to like, but it's funny because now when I start to think about that, even just now when I was saying it, I literally hear him interjecting and going, you're not the same person anymore. Like the last place you lived in was the closest to that you're ever going to get. And it was pretty damn fucking close. So he's like, you don't need that anymore. Like, you trust me. I have really, it's like a conversion. I have my heart, my way of thinking has been converted to trusting him instead of leaning on my own understanding, which is also in the Bible, although I believe in 10% of it, but that's probably part of it, I guess. Part of the 10%. So yeah, I love that. I love that reminder that like when you decide to believe in him and ask him in and really trust him and really lay those things. Even today, I was like, I lay everything at your feet. This morning, I said, I lay everything to you that I cannot understand the ways of trying to understand how things are going to work for me. The money that's supposed to come in, I don't even care. I'm just giving that all to you. I trust you to just put me on my highest timeline, do things for my highest and best, and just remind myself that like Jesus doesn't want you to live his life necessarily, because that's what I think a lot of people think too, is like, oh, if I give myself over to you, I'm going to be a vagrant, a gypsy type person going from town to town and own, you know what I'm saying? Like there are some people who do live that life and they fucking like it. Okay. If it's not on your heart to live like that, if that's an actual fearful fucking thing that doesn't feel like I don't know, me as an entrepreneur, like, I just know I had to sit with myself and be like, the work that's been put on my heart to do, especially in Sacred Rage, was put on my heart by God, like straight up. And so I know that when I'm in a space where my nervous system is not relaxed, which is not having the things that make me comfortable, I don't do my best work. My work is not being done the best.
I'm glad
So
you said, wow.
yeah, so it's like,
Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
why would Jesus want me to be in a space where my wings are literally contracted again? They're supposed to, or even my heart, you think of it as your heart, where my heart is contracted, where I'm worried, where I'm trying to figure out where my next dollar is going to come from. Like I'm not able to do my best work in that aspect. And that's what I'm here to do, is to do the message and the work that was put on my heart. So for me,
wow.
yeah, and I had to really accept that and be like, oh, and I still have to remind myself that, because again, I don't know what's happening in May, right? I don't currently know that. It's not my job to know that. My job is to have faith. And that's really what season 3 of The Chosen was all about, by the way. It was all his disciples. You talk about how normal his disciples are, right? Like even his disciples who saw miracles, who saw him on a daily basis, who were ripped out of things because he came in, started to doubt, started to not have faith, started to wonder why he was healing these people and not these people, and why did you do this for this family and not my family? And they start to unravel in faith, and they're literally walking with Jesus. Like, it's such a fucking reminder that it doesn't matter. We're human. We're going to have doubt. We're gonna have fucking issues with faith. The point of it is not to continue in a life where you never ever lose your faith. It's how quickly you return to it. It's how quickly you pull him in back into your life, back into your heart, back into all those things, and say, yes, I feel that emotion. That is a real thing. I acknowledge that fear, that anger, that sadness.
So he knows we're going to lose it every now and then.
Yes.
As long as we get it back, that's all that matters, eh?
It's about calling him in to say, I feel this way. Help me not feel this way. Show me where it is I'm lacking, to where I can't get back to my space of love and trusting you. Like, where, come in. I always say, and I also say too, a lot of people have a problem with like making Jesus like the end all to end all. Like you're just worshiping him and just all, and I don't look at it that way. It's a relationship. So for me, every morning, and you don't have to say it once, by the way, but every morning I say, for the most part of the morning, I ask Joshua to come into my life and come into my heart, and not lead me where I'm supposed to go, but lead us where we're supposed to go together. Lead us where we're supposed to co-create together. It's a co-creation. It's a partnership. It's not me just, and ultimately it is a full trust in him, but you don't have to be this like puppet. Jesus, just do whatever. Like it's really just taking responsibility that like, you are still the human that has to do the actions that are put upon your heart by him. And if you don't see him in physical form, like a lot of people do, I've never actually seen him in physical form in any aspect. But even just yesterday, I felt his overwhelming love wash over me. And literally I heard him say, but in my own voice, I just know it was him, that I was going to be taken care of. And that what's in the past is in the past, and those aren't repeating. And I've turned a corner, I've crossed a threshold. Like that life doesn't exist for me anymore. And it was like, please, like not please. He was just like, just trust me. I'm taking care of you. Like it's gonna be amazing. And like, just, you've done the work. You keep trusting, keep following, just keep going. And I was so overwhelmed with his presence. I just was crying because I was just over. And I know there's a specific feeling I get when he's around. It's not like any other feeling I've ever had. And so I know it was him. And that has only gotten stronger because of the things that I have, decided to do, which is, this podcast is one of them. Honestly, this wasn't something I just was like, I really was like enamored with hearing people's stories about him. And I was like, why don't I have a podcast where I can talk about this? And then I was like, oh, maybe.
I'm so glad you do.
Yeah. He was like, do it. You need to do it.
Yeah.
He kept putting it on my heart, putting it on my heart. And I was like, okay. I'm going to do it. So yeah. So anyway, well, I just really appreciate you, Stephen, for coming on. For people that so what are you're not doing any of the side gigs anymore either? You're not doing like the entertainment side anymore?
Oh, well, I'm still Santa. I'm still the clown and stuff.
Okay,
yeah.
so do you want to promote that side of yourself? You know, people to get a hold of you to book you for those things, or what if you don't have to, but if you want
Oh
to,
no, I'm not.
you're
I'm
good.
kind of devoted to my mom right now, so
Okay,
I don't have
got
a
it.
lot of free time. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, I just really again want to say thank you for
Thank you.
helping people to connect with Joshua more today and telling your heart and your
So,
story. It's really
can I
beautiful.
ask you what? Do we have time for one more question for you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. What is? I've been. I have never been a planner. Lately, I've just been getting told I need to have routine and daily habits. What are yours?
What are
I
my
need
daily
to.
habits that I do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What's
Yeah, so
yeah.
one of my biggest daily habits, honestly, is listening to worship music. That's one of my biggest.
Okay.
Like I
You
have a
start the day out with walk me through your morning and then
yeah, I mean, I just literally, you know, that's probably I wake up, I get breakfast, you know, going, and then I sit down and I 9 times out of 10 will listen to worship music and
okay.
scroll on Facebook, although I shouldn't really be doing that. But I can't really help myself because I get so interested in things. But anyways, yeah, so that's, worship music is my probably my biggest thing. I also listen to that while I'm doing my makeup. Sometimes I play a fucking video game. I'm addicted to Soda Crush. Anyways, don't hate me, don't fucking judge me. But it's relaxing for me to do that and listen to worship music. So I have, if anybody wants it, and you have Spotify, I have like a list I've been adding to and building that are my favorite worship songs ever that are so powerful and so impactful. So if you do want that, you can, you know, email me or make a message down below this if you're on YouTube. And on my better days, I have mala beads that I sit down with, and I always say a prayer to
What is that?
mala beads.
What's that?
I'll show you.
I have never heard of that.
Yeah, so they're I think they're Catholic. I think mala beads are Catholic. Like the rosary?
Oh, a rosary,
Well,
yeah.
these are called mala beads because it's not a rosary, but it's the 108, you know, like a rosary has 108 on them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can get these. Yeah, I got this one. I did have tassels on the bottom, but they all fell off the other day. But I got this on Etsy for like $20 or something. So you can get them anywhere. You can get really, really expensive ones that have been blessed and all the cool things. But so I usually do a prayer to God and to Jeshua and my guides and all that. And I ask for protection for myself and my energy on every level, that I say those who would do me harm, attempt to do me harm, or even think to do me harm are not, I'm invisible to them, like completely invisible. So I do that. I say my gratitude of thank you for, you know, gratitude for being here, my limbs, my senses, my food, water. I say my heart's open to receive all the gifts and blessings. I ask for blessings and gifts to be given to the world and the collective and Mother Earth. So I do just kind of like a prayer that just kind of brings everything together. And then the mala beads, I do green Tara is attachment to suffering, so removal of attachment to suffering. So it's Tate Tutate Tari Soha, and you do it one after the other. I haven't found a good one on YouTube, so I just do it myself out loud. And then after that, I do 108 of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, which is to bring peace and understanding to all your situations. And I do that for myself and the collective. And that's pretty much it. Sometimes I sit in silent meditation and connect with myself. And I don't see spirit or hear spirit. That's not part of my gifts. My gifts are clear feeling and clear knowing. So I don't necessarily see anything. Sometimes I do, but usually it's just a really massive body high, almost, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I do get ideas about business all of a sudden, or something comes through that's really strong. So I know that's a message coming to me, but it's not necessarily given to me by like an actual being in the sense of me seeing them. And that's pretty much what I do. I try to work out, 2 days on, 1 day off. So that's another thing.
So you think a routine and structure is pretty important?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I also think that if you're not, if you're feeling like not connected to it at all, I don't think it's something that you should fucking do. I think that it should be more like, sometimes I'll read a book for 10 minutes. That's another part of my, if I find a book I like, I'll read a book. Sometimes it's spiritual. But I think it's more about like going down the list of like, okay, there's these things. I think the prayer thing is really important to do no matter what. Even if your prayer is like, I don't really want to pray today to you. I don't fucking feel like connecting today. You know,
Yeah.
open to all the things. My heart's still open to everything, but I'm just not feeling it today. I think any type of communication with your higher self and with Jesus and God and whatever you believe in is really important and is life-changing. And if you can commit to some sort of communication with those parts of yourself and them, it's life-changing. So even if it's just for 2-3 minutes, you know, even if it's just listening to worship, I'm telling you, worship music is fucking like, I don't know, it's changed my life. It's fucking amazing. When I'm feeling my lowest and like my thoughts are overwhelming and I feel like I can't see the fucking way out of shit, I literally just lay down and play that shit and fall asleep to it and just cry because I don't, you know, and there's so many things that are said in the lyrics that are like speaking directly to you. Like it's not a coincidence. So I think my playlist has like 7 hours of worship music currently. So it's incredible. So if you have Spotify and want it, let me know. I'll get it to you. But
Okay.
But yeah, so that's my routine. That's my personal routine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Give me a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Anything else you want to ask?
Thank you for inviting me to do this podcast.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you did. I'm so glad that we connected. I'm so glad that people are going to get to feel him through you and me in this podcast. And yeah,
I'm so glad you and I connected somehow, some way years ago. So.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, thank you so much again, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to follow us. Please be sure to share us so we can get his message out even more. And go watch The Chosen. Go download it. Go watch it.
I will.
All right. All of you, everyone listening. Bye, everyone.